There is a huge new master plan for Sydney Olympic Park and it's reaching to the moon, complete with metro, light rail, rapid bus, but is it enough to accommodate an extra 25,000 residents? That's way more than the Giants ever get out there. There'll be 2,500 extra workers, funky retails, schools, extra sports facilities. But will there be any affordable housing? We'll take you through this, break it down and teach you how you can have your say in what gets built. The light rail and metro are real game changers here and is going to allow a lot more people to come into the precinct without creating a whole lot more traffic. So that traffic congestion has always been the limiting factor about getting these buildings higher. Now we've got a metro coming in. Their concept is that 10,000 people can be coming in a day with no extra need for car park. Currently there's about 5,000 residents at Sydney Olympic Park. That's going to move through to 30,000, delivered through 13,000 extra dwellings. While this sounds like a lot of extra density, when put in the context of New South Wales currently being 377,000 houses short, this 13,000 is a critical step in the city and the state delivering on its housing goals. Now, will any of this housing be affordable? Currently a two-bedroom goes for $800 a week, with the fifth-year-old nurse in New South Wales taking home $1,288 a week. There aren't going to be too many nurses dwelling out there unless we put deliberate steps in play to accommodate. To the scheme's credit, there is an affordable housing provision. However, it stops short of requiring that housing to be provided within the precinct. We'd love to see this tightened up. We want to see the benefit of the infrastructure in the metro and light rail benefiting all of the community. We'll be looking at this master plan through the framework of biology of place, breaking down the naturally needed environmental elements to make neighbourhoods thrive. Schools are vital community hubs and something that most residents will expect to be in play before they move out there. The school's likely to be a vertical one due to the lack of land allocated. Now, primary schools often don't go above 4 floors because it's tiring to get up that far. There's large voids to allow the moving of classrooms around. Now you see the beautiful layout here with the school off to the left, the colourful nettings above the buildings for when this Mary Fowler or Don Bradman start whipping balls around. Playgrounds are adjacent to the building. Could work beautifully. Now it may not be a public school, may even be a private school. The amount of activation it'll put on the ground plane during the day will be critical to getting multiple uses and an active, vibrant lifespan of this precinct. Retail also plays an outsized space in projecting what that future lifestyle could be to potential residents and future office workers. Getting this right early will be critical in getting velocity within the development. The current retail scene out there is about as weak as the coffee because streets this wide tend not to work well for retail. There's a tension in the master plan about providing streets 50 metres wide to allow for tens of thousands of people moving during an event versus what will work well during the week. Nowhere is this more evident than at the ground plane.
We're here and it's beautiful, but it doesn't look like there's a single person around. And there are, it's just this roadway's 40, 50 metres wide. It's really hard to get that beautiful fine grain retail that works so well in somewhere like a skinny, narrow laneway of Melbourne. Cut to Melbourne.
See how it's just a better human scale, more inviting. And if we look closer to home, Sydney Central Park. Now this retail's not centred on the big parklands. Rather, it's the intimate, tight, interwoven areas of Spice Alley that have the excitement and electrification. Places like this help set the scene and would get people excited about moving out as residents or as workers. Getting a full-line supermarket out there will be a big milestone for the development. Now, obviously, no supermarkets want to go out there with no car parking, and they're going to need the light rail to be in there. There's going to be a multi-level retail precinct in there that they're trying every word in the vocab without to call it a mall, but essentially that's what it is. Some fashion could do quite well later in the development. The DFO out there certainly brings footfall during the week, which is definitely a weak spot for the rest of Sydney Olympic Park. There's more office, hotel and short stay premises proposed, most notably the above station office development above the existing train station. Getting an office development off the ground in Olympic Park in the current conditions will be tough. It's 30 to 40% vacancy out there at the moment. Times haven't been easy, and vacancy works like a champagne fountain. The CBD offices get filled up first, Then North Sydney, Parramatta, and only then do tenants start to come to tertiary locations like Sydney Olympic Park. And investors have been hit as well, with cap rates stepping out about 45 to 65 basis points greater in Sydney Olympic Park than in the CBD. Commuting is a tax on your soul, so it comes back to the basics. Getting the metro, the light rail, and a better retail offering is going to help, and also targeting niches that aren't fulfilled by Parramatta or the CBD. Potentially looking at the sciences, the med tech. While Sydney Olympic Park is well known for its diverse parklands, mangroves and walkways, they've had to work really hard to get it there.
Sydney Olympic Park's a dump. Really, it's built on 10 separate dumps, 10 separate landfills.
But the main destroyer was uncontrolled landfilling when household, commercial and industrial wastes were dumped. Haslam's Creek was reduced to little more than a concrete drain.
Massive remediation and monitoring works have gone on since then to restore the natural habitat and make it safe for human and animal occupation. The footpaths and trails to allow people to interact with nature. The ultimate goal is to restore the land and waterways to what they once were. They were heavily used as thoroughfares for travel and food sources for indigenous, and that's been reflected throughout the master plan. And this is reflected through the information boards and artworks across the precinct. There are also more modern heroes that are reflected within the master plan, and an opportunity to further this through the planned cultural centre. What the future demographics of the neighbourhood look like remains to be seen. It'll largely pin on the success of the metro and wider master plan. The master plan accurately aims for diversity, not relying too heavily on any one user group, and with focused intervention on affordable housing, diverse retail, incubator retail, cultural centres, the master plan's got an exciting place. So now we're sitting in the planning maps. You can see the amount of environmental area here in this sort of brown to orange, and huge vast park and recreational areas that Sydney Olympic Park is so well known for. Coming down here, you're starting to get into the crux of it, the mixed use area. The parks there and the E2, this is the commercial hub. This is where the train station currently sits. Metro will come out around here. Stadiums, etc. around here, as you all know. Intensity is going to happen in this purplish area. Crawling through here now, you're starting to see where the height within the mixed use is going to be. It's down here, the key, looking at an 8:1 FSR up to an 11, so it means for every square metre, so if it's 1,000 square metre site, they'll be allowed 11,000 square metres of floor space essentially. And then the heights coming through here, you're seeing a similar pattern. 185 metres being the highest one is permitted to build, and about 150. So allow 3 metres per floor, so we're talking 50 to 60 floor buildings. The buildings behind me are between 20 and 30 stories. If you're interested in bringing a school, doing some office development or housing, please reach out. We'd love to give you more information. It's all about to be go once that metro's done. $8 billion is went into that hole, so you know they're past the point of non-return. If you want to be a positive voice in all of this and have your say, Google "Have Your Say Sydney Olympic Park Masterplan" and fill out the official form by the 25th of November. Failing that, just go ham in the comment section.